Well, hello there, humans, bees, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you are lucky enough to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and I'm very happy today to be bringing you a look at the T54 Mod 1, or the T54 first prototype, as it is sometimes called. It is a variation on a theme that has proved both impressive in terms of performance and popular in terms of player demand. That being the T44, the good old granddaddy in Blitz of Russian mediums at tier 8, followed up by the Type 59, the Chinese medium, even the T54 lightweight. They all share a lot of commonalities, and they've become tanks that are very much synonymous with 100mm guns and a certain type of armour profile. And that armour profile is the typically Russian, very, very steep upper plate that is low slung to the ground and is excellent in lots and lots of environments. The Mod 1 takes that a step further. It really does expound upon the theme that armour is king, and it gives you what can best be described as a heavy medium. It's got a ferocious armour profile. The 44 is a great tank in and of itself because it can angle, it can dangle, it can do all kinds of fancy dancing to bounce shots and move around the battlefield, and that's great. But the Mod 1 is just a trollish monster when it comes to getting bounces and toughing it out with the best of them, even with tier 8 heavies. And I'm going to bust down the armour and have a talk to you about it and discuss all the commonalities that those tanks have. If you've driven the 44 before and driven it successfully, you'll have absolutely no qualms driving the Mod 1. It's really right up the same daisy chain. As always, this is a patron-sponsored post. If you're interesting, I know you're interesting. If you're interested in checking out Patreon, finding out what it's all about, click on the link there. We have voice channels, we have chat channels, we have a forum for the patrons, we have, Europeans, NA events, Asia events. It's all going on. It's going off like a frog in the sock, as someone once said. God knows who that is. But back to the 54 Mod 1. Now, I actually drove this thing on NA, and you can see these games are all on the North American server, and that's why I'm running around at times at nearly 300 ping, which you'd think would be a distinct disadvantage, and it certainly didn't make life easy. But the Mod 1's not really what you'd call a wailing all over the place, moving your butt and driving it like you stole it kind of medium. It has a lot of armour, and as such, it is fairly hefty in terms of penalties when it comes to mobility. The 44, the 59, they both seem to have better mobility than the first proto or the Mod 1. You've got very, very similar guns though. The 100mm, you've got a D10TK on the first prototype. You have the D10T on the 54 lightweight. You have the 100mm Type 59 on the Chinese tank. You have the 100mm LB1 on the T44, and they all have very, very similar stats. 175mm pen across the board, apart from 181 on the Type 59 for your AP rounds. 7.91 for your rate of fire on the 54 Mod 1, 8.36 on the 44, and 8.84 on the 54 lightweight. You might wonder why I'm including the lightweight in this. Well, it's got the same style of armour as the Mod 1. The thing that I find with this tank in particular is the random weirdness of the gun. Like, you saw it completely miss that Type 69's butt there. And RNG just is very, very odd with it. And then in the same game, you turn around and you'll get shots that just you have absolutely no business making. Like this, for instance. I missed the 69's butt, get a bounce, no problems at all. And then I'm going to hit the Super Pershing on this tiny little hatch. Like, go figure. And that, for me, seemed very much to sum up the 54 Mod 1. Its gun was quite trollish in the extreme. And you don't drive this tank for the gun handling. Your penetration values notwithstanding, and your rate of fire being pretty similar across all those kind of tanks, you really don't drive it for fantastic gun handling. You drive it for the armour. The dispersion on the gun is 0.328. That's running double rations and gun rammer and vents. that's the same exact dispersion as the 54 lightweight. Let's have a look at the armor profile. Now, we've lined up those 4 tanks I've been talking about for the most part in front of you there. Actually, that's a Type 62. Ignore that one. So I did. The 54 Mod 1 starts with 206 millimeters of flat armor, completely unangled. And that's well and truly the best armor value you're going to get out of any of these tanks. You can angle it slightly like this and get 226 millimeters of armor on your upper glacis and 191 millimeters on the side of the tank. And even the 44 can't go near that. You can see even firing APCR there, you can angle it at 35, 40 degrees and make it a really, really tough tank. And the 44 has to go to extreme angles to get that kind of bounce. And generally it has to go to such an angle that it then flattens out the side enough that even if you go around, you're going to get hit through a drive wheel or something. And you can see the only one that can really match up for it is the Type 59. If it gets a supreme angle on it, it can get a bounce or a bouncing shot. And you can see it turns red, but look how far it's got to go around. 54 Proto does that very, very easily. And that makes it a really, really strong brawler and corner fighter. If you can get a tank up to 250 millimeters of armor at tier 8, fighting same tier tanks, that's an excellent, excellent proposition. And it's one of the reasons why I really love this vehicle. If you grab it, you shove it in situations like this where you can be aggressive and bounce shots, you are going to be a boon for your team. And I'm playing with my good mate Mac the Knife here. He's in the Lurva and he is just absolutely cleaning up as I hold the corner here on Port Bay. You're going to have to fire a little bit of APCR though when you're in this tank. That's fine. The actual credit coefficient is lovely. You don't have any problems whatsoever in terms of making money. You've got 175% credit coefficient, which is just below the Type 59, but well above a standard tank. 44 kilometers an hour is your top speed. And that's all well and good, but you're not really going to be a medium that gets out and burns. I found that this one was most effective when I could get it on a corner like this and move back and just start angling up and pushing my nose back and forward, getting some help from a big mate there like Mac the Knife, getting bounces and putting shots in a peek-a-boom fashion. The gun just isn't that quick, and your DPM at tier 8 is not fantastic. Like tier 8 mediums really have this common thread where they don't have fantastic damage per minute numbers compared to tier 7 and tier 8 and tier 9 mediums. What they do tend to have is a whole lot of tough competition from tier 8 heavies. So you've got to be able to drive them with a little bit of something extra, and the 54 Mod 1 has that. It's got what you could best term a superb armor profile for a medium tank. And you can see we're making every post a winner here on the corner, just angling it up nice and steep, getting the odd bounce, using the team. It's not super reliable, people can still go through it, and if you don't angle correctly, you're still going to be in trouble, but it's a tough tank. It's a really tough tank. And if you're a bit canny with it, you can see this 54 lightweight here. I'm going to get... This is a bit of an old trick. You can see how there is a bush on my right. What I'm going to do is use that bush to really fog the hit skins that the 54 lightweight's going to see. I'm going to reset my camo, move back out, and I'm going to start angling for this 54 lightweight. And I'm going to try and pull shots out of him without giving him a good clear look at the upper glacis. And that's why I was hiding behind that actual brush there. And I'm going to do the same thing again, angle it up and get the bounce, because he's trying to go through in excess of 220 millimeters of armor there. That's a lot of armor. And a tank like the 54 lightweight, even when he's firing APCR, he only tops out at 235 millimeters of pen. And that's not a whole lot of pen when you can angle up to 250 millimeters. The best pen on any of these tanks is the Type 59 at 241. Now you're going to run into guys with more pen than that. You're going to run to BL9 IS3s with 250 millimeters of pen and the like. but you're low to the ground. You have a fairly strong turret. You've got a little bit of spaced armour. Apparently, I've not been able to verify this in the turret itself as well. And you've definitely got some tracks and such along the side. So if you angle up, you certainly can side scrape this thing. I mean, side scraping a medium is all well and good. It's generally a finesse game, but the 54 mod 1 can just side scrape like a boss. And you get into a situation like this where you're on the top of temple steps, and basically you can just see it's a monster. It's an absolute monster. Not only are they firing up, so my armor angle is even better and I'm far more likely to bounce, it's not really hard to get shots off even with 5 degrees of gun depression. The gun depression is an issue. But once you learn how to drive Russian mediums, and you learn how to drive a T-54 or a T-44 or a T-59, any of these tanks with strong turrets or reasonably strong turrets and very, very steep armor that you can angle and fight from corners, wow, you can make hay with this thing. I'm going to show you one game because I think I've carried on enough about how much fun the tank is, how it can make money, how it can do all these kinds of things, and why it's so good. And I'm going to show you one game that I think really encapsulates the 54 mod 1. It's a game I had today on the NA server, and it's on Copperfield, which is just a NASCAR track that's been glorified and had tanks shoved on it. And I'm not a big fan of Copperfield. Think it should be probably sub tier 6 or 7. But be that as it may, we're here, we're doing the business. And Supremacy. So I'm going to move up here and think about jumping in the cap. Now, I know that there's a medium up there. I can see that straight away. So at the worst, I've got an Indian and one other over here. And I can't see either of them. So there's a 44. Only the Indian left. I'm going to jump in the cap and put shots in across the way. There's something I haven't talked about yet, which is that the 54 mod 1 can suffer from severe ammunition distress. A lot like the old IS-7. I don't know if any of you guys have been around on the channel long enough to remember the IS-4, sorry, not IS-7, IS-4 game I had on the old mines where I ran out of AP and heat and had to kill someone with HE and it kept blowing up my own gun. Well, I've only got 14 rounds of AP left already, and I've only been firing for a little bit. So it's worth noting that don't overgo the HE on this tank, which I have done on this one. The Indian's the only one over here. I'm comfortable just to move up and use that armor. Now, I'm angling it at the right point here, about 15 degrees. I've probably got 215, 220 millimeters of armor on the front and about 190 to 200 on my left hand side as he looks at me. So that's a really tough pen, and it means that I'm able to one-on-one this Indian without using Premo and without blowing through all my hit points. And that's really handy as the game progresses, because obviously this is going to be quite a long drawn-out affair. I've already talked to you about how much I'm lacking in ammo. 7 rounds. That's all the AP I've got left. And you can see on the other side of the map, I don't feel particularly bad here too. I don't feel bad at all. We had 6 green guys up there and they had 6 red guys up there. And it just so happens that the red guys are tearing the green guys to bits. The Tiger 2 actually does nearly 2,300 damage on this one as well. So he does all right up the top and he's doing the business. Now we've got our second kill and we're just looking to finish off this 23 E3 Nomad. He's got a lot more damage per minute than I can output. So I'm very, very happy to not have him come up with a whole bunch of hit points. Because if he got up nice and personal with me, he might well be able to give me some trouble if he could play. You can see now, it's looking pretty tough. We've got 2 tanks left. I'm one of them and 4 red. And it's time to find out if the carry pants will fit, because I'm going to need a 4 tank Kolobanov and a Rossini if I'm going to get the win here, the Rasani, whatever it is. I don't know. I can't pronounce the Eastern European tank aces that well. Apparently it's Kolobanov, not Kolobanov, but I'm from Australia and we just don't care. We're a cultural desert. Ask Simon T, he'll tell you the truth. Here we are with a really lovely opportunity here. The IS is going to come out. We are hull down, showing the angle. He's got absolutely no chance of penning us from there, and we were really hoping he'd persist with that. Now, despite the fact that we are down 1 on 3, we are still up on points. because I capped so early in the game that these guys didn't actually get to A before they wiped out the rest of the team. And they've only just started capping B. So we're still nearly 200 points up, which is pretty obscene considering that it's now 1-on-3. And that's one of the reasons why I like fooling around in Supremacy. And we nut that T-34. The Kraken is going down, and it's just an IS and an IS-6, but I am my own worst enemy here. I want the RAS, I want the 4-tank Kolobanov, I want the Gold M's, I want it all, but I'm running out of time. I can't see the IS-6, I'm desperate to get rid of this IS, and I make a big error, come out sideways and pay the ultimate penalty, which is getting wrecked by someone in a tanker tier lower. I think the IS-6 has to be pushing, and there he is. It's exactly right. I've got to be aggressive. I've got to clear out this IS ASAP, or there will be nothing but broken dreams for me and the green team. There's the IS. Why not zoom in? Because honest to God, that thing is RNG hating on me. It hit the right front end of the tank. This is what I'm talking about with the 54 Mod 1. The gun just seems to be an absolute RNG monster. Still, we've bounced another one and we're in all kinds, but we do get a lovely bounce off that IS-6. The IS-6 is the guy that I'm really angling up to here. And I'm going to use him to go between me and the IS, turn around so he can't hit me, and beat him on a reload. And winner, chicken dinner. All I've got to do is fit 2 in the next 25 cap points. It's going to be right down to the wire. Come on, you little 54 Mod 1. We want all the chocolate rations. We can take a hit. We just need to get one in, and boom! We win it on a cap. We get a 7-kill RAS, 4-tank Kolobanov. We're obviously going to get the Gold M. And we had, I think, about 2 rounds of APCR left. 4,615 damage, high caliber, top gun, RAS, steel wall, Kolobanov, and nearly 70,000 credits, despite firing through all the ammo that God gave me. Really fun game, and it really highlights the joy of the 54 Mod 1. As long as you angle it, as long as you drive it at the enemy straight, you can absolutely dominate as a top tier tank. And I think the biggest lesson I took away from this tank is that you have to make sure that you don't just blow all your chips right at the start. If you can conserve hit points in this thing, it is so tough that they will have to pay a filthy big penalty to come up and grab you. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a mobile tank. It's got 53 degrees of traverse on it. It'll do 44 kilometers an hour. It does all those kind of things. But what it does best and brightest of all is bounce shots. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video and had a great giggle doing it. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel. There's lots coming up, not the least of which is the Little Leopard, which I'll be popping along maybe tomorrow. As always, make sure that you look after your families and stay safe out there on the battlefield.